Tonight, we're going to talk about the responsibilities of men in the household. Oh boy, okay. I'm just going to jump right into it here tonight. I say men, especially as the head of the household, are required to be more concerned with their obligations and responsibilities than their freedoms and privileges. Boom, right out of the gate tonight here. This idea is drawn from several passages that emphasize a husband's sacrificial duties over any sense of privilege or authority for its own sake. The primary scriptural foundations most often cited are Ephesians 5:25 through 33. The central text is, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her." So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. Nevertheless, let each one of you in particular so love his own wife as himself. And let the wife see that she respects her husband. Now, the command to husbands is framed almost entirely in terms of self-sacrificial love and responsibility. Christ gave himself for her. Gave himself for her. Not for rights, not for privileges. Headship, in verse 23, "For the husband is head of the wife, as also Christ is head of the church." It's defined by the pattern of Christ and his sacrifice for his bride. Wow, what honor Christ bestowed upon his bride with his sacrificial offering. Sacrificing himself. Wow. The second passage that's often cited is in Colossians 3:19. "Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them." The positive command is love. Any misuse of authority, bitterness, or harshness is explicitly forbidden. Third, 1 Peter 3:7. "Husbands, likewise, dwell with them with understanding. Give honor to the wife, as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together in the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered." Authority is paired with understanding and honor, and a man is warned that failing in these responsibilities directly affects his own prayer life and relationship with God. So the context of obligations and responsibilities, they come with the authority that we're given. They're never separate. We're never given authority without the obligations and responsibilities, or why have the authority if we shirk the responsibilities? 4 is 1 Corinthians 11:3. Together with the broader New Testament pattern, of men accepting or being required to fulfill obligations and responsibilities, is this pattern. But I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ. The head of woman is man. The head of Christ is God. When this headship is explained, it is always in terms of responsibility and representation, never personal privilege granted to the man. An example of Christ as head in Philippians 2, 5-8. Christ humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even the death on the cross. I had a testimony I wanted to share in this regard, and it has everything to do with authority of and man's responsibilities. One day here, several months ago, it was raining really hard, and Denise and I drove in separate cars for some reason. We got back to the house about the same time, and Denise had Brinson with her. And so I backed into the garage first, and I got out of the truck, and I walked to the front as Denise stopped at the, I don't know what that little 2-inch lip is around the inside of the garage door. But when you pull in, she kind of coasted to a stop, and her front tires came against that little step. And so Brinson opened up his door and went into the garage. Well, then I guess when she went to pull into the garage and to step on the gas, she came against that resistance on that little lip or step or whatever it's called. And as I would step on the gas a little harder, well, we have a painted garage floor, and that our front tires started spinning, and when they spun, they made a loud squealing noise, and I guess it startled Denise. And so she pulled into the garage, and she stopped, and she jumps out of the car, and she says, "Not my fault." And boy, I tell you, the Lord saved me this day when the first thing that came to my mind, is because we're just having fun. This was a very lighthearted moment. The first thing that came to my mind was, well, I'm not driving the car. But the Lord, just as I took a breath to say what was on my mind, to be jovial or whatever, the Lord corrected me. I heard instantly, she's right. And, the Lord knows exactly what to say to me to, get me to respond in an appropriate way, because there's a whole backstory to me and the whole need to be right and everything. And so when he said, she's right, he knew exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And so I just realized that he kept me from taking myself out of alignment by even being jovial or joking or whatever, that no, I wasn't driving, but it doesn't matter. Still, whatever happens in the household is my responsibility. It was such a minor event. It's just that it just made such an impression on me, though, because if something had happened, whatever it would have been, something happened to the car, regardless, I would have taken upon myself to fix it or, to make the situation right. But again, it was such a minor event. But in that moment, it really made a strong impression on me about how the Lord really values authority and being in alignment with Him. And so just have a closing thought in that regard in Genesis 3, verse 9. This is after the fall. God first calls to Adam, "Where are you?" holding him accountable, even though Eve is the one that partook. She ate the fruit first. Jerry, English. But she ate first, but Adam ate as well. And so, Adam's little trick of trying to excuse himself for this woman that you gave me, Lord. That didn't work out very well. That was him demonstrating fallen behavior. That's not something men are to model after in our marriages. Yeah, blaming our wives for stuff is not a good strategy. But just to close, biblical headship is never presented as a privilege to be enjoyed, or a freedom to be exercised for the man's benefit only. It's a weighty obligation modeled after Christ's self-sacrificial service. Therefore, many pastors and teachers conclude that a godly man, especially as head of the household, must be far more concerned with his God-given obligations and responsibilities than with any freedoms or privileges. Well, guys out there, I hope that helps. I love you all.